Okay, hello everyone. The results are out for HoloOCG's WGP that took place in Kobe recently, and we can quickly go through the results, give a quick review of the meta, as well as afterwards we can move on to what I think should be restricted, as well as what to look out for future metas. So as you can see, this right here, this pie chart right here is the usage rate for the entirety of WGP Kobe. It's quite similar to Chiba, the previous WGP, but the main difference is that Kanata's usage has spiked a lot more compared to Ollie. In Chiba, I think Ollie was like 28%. Yeah, but so basically the roles have swapped because people realize Ollie doesn't really stop Kanata. Kanata still kind of just does its own thing. Noticeable is Suisei being the third most used deck, and Shion dropping off, I guess because Rainy, no one's bringing as much Rainy, so Shion just falls off. So yeah, and interestingly enough, we have 4% Fubuki, as well as 4% ASCII. But this ASCII is a bit of an imposter, so we'll show you why soon. Yeah, let's move on to the top conversion. So we have these are the top 16 in the first block. We have 6 Kanatas, 1 Ollie, and 1 ASCII. So in case some of you didn't already know, this ASCII isn't actually an ASCII deck. It is the Japan-made deck Rene Zeta, and it's terrorizing some people right now. Some of my locals have picked it up, and it's quite annoying to play against. Yeah, it has converted really well. From 4%, there's already 1 top. And then for the rest of the top 16, we got 1 Kiara, 2 Suisei, 1 Birthday Rene, which is interesting. It is, I can see the use for it. You get to find any second you want from the Rene deck, and it still gives you power for that mirror matchup. So yeah, that's it did make it up there, and it kind of shows how strong the Rene deck is even without a good Oshi. Yeah, we got 2 Shions, 2 Marines. That's for block A. Now we move on to block B. Yeah, it's looking a lot more familiar with so many Kanatas here, and 3 Ollies. The Pekora deck here is interesting because it's actually Marine. It's just a Marine deck using Pekora's Oshi for cheer efficiency, I guess. Yeah, it made it top 4 for that block. And then we have 2 Marines, 2 Suiseis, 1 Chloe, 2 Shion, another Rainy Zeta. That's for block B. And then we have block C, which is Kiara, 3 Kanatas, 2 Ollies, 1 Suisei, 1 Sora. You might be thinking, what is Sora doing here? And that's actually people just abusing diversity card, I guess, in a way. It's actually a Kanata deck, and so Kanata isn't really affected by this. Like not using her Oshi, and you have higher chances of getting in because you're still playing Kanata, and she can still use the Sora's Oshi pretty well. And then we got 2 more Sora Kanatas, which is crazy. And then 2 more Rene Zetas, also crazy. 2 Marines, 1 Shion, and 1 more Kanata. So they have compiled a very nice pie chart to show all the top conversions. And it's really interesting because, as you can see, despite diversity cutting about like 60 Kanatas, like we can see it right here, like 1 block takes out like 20 Kanatas. So it's quite it's quite rough out there for non-Kanata players having to face Kanata. And we can see that 6 Rene Elfies converted, 6 Marines, 5 Shions, 5 Suisei, 4 Rene Zetas, 3 Sora Kanatas, 2 Kiaras, and then 1 of Chloe, 1 of Pekora, which is a Marine deck, and 1 of Rene, Birthday. Overall, it was a diverse top 16, and decks like Rene Zeta had amazing conversion. Like we see, it had 4% usage rate, but it took 4 out of the 48 slots, which is really good actually. I did not expect it to do that well. Other than that, maybe should I have more Kiara, but I guess when everyone's using Kanata, wouldn't be there. Chloe as well, supposedly meant to be good against Kanata, but I guess in WGP where you have to play 6 rounds consecutively, it can get very tiring to win with Chloe. It is not an easy deck, and you kind of just lose to the other decks that are not Kanata as well. So yeah, that is the overview. Definitely need restrictions on some of these, and that's what we'll move on to now. Okay, so for all intensive purposes, we're going to be using HoloDelta. It's a free simulator that everyone can download. I can put a link in the description. You can download it yourself. It is easy, accessible simulator for everyone to check out every card and as well as place every card. So yeah, let's go through what I think should be restricted and what I think they are gonna be restricted. What they will restrict. Yeah, so it's gonna be, I guess, 2 different parts. We can start off with what I think they will restrict. Obviously, it's gonna be Kanata. It's just a matter of which Kanata cards they're gonna restrict. The obvious choice is Kanata's Oshi. Being able to set 50 to everything and ignore the high HP benefits. Essentially having infinite scaling on how much health it removes. It's quite strong, even though it's only 3, but it helps the Kanata deck so much because it sets 50, sets up second Kanata's overkill, lets you kill things as a debut, lets you finish off games. The effect is way too strong. Her SP as well, it's plus 100 in case you are just lacking damage somehow. Yeah, it is. I definitely think they'll hit it some way. However, recently they did show there's a Oshi tournament coming up soon with set 1 Holomems, and Kanata's Oshi was still there. So we don't know if that's gonna be may or less be confirming that they might not touch Kanata's Oshi unless they make it strictly you can only use Kanata Oshi for that tournament. So yeah, I do hope it does get touched somewhat. If not, there are other options of Kanata that they can possibly restrict. We already know collab debuts restricted to 1, still quite strong. Still allows you for turn 1 going second to hit 100 quite easily. We have Kanata first. This first I think they might touch and restrict to 1. Because turns out dealing 30 damage for free is very strong. Even though the effect says that you don't get free life, but it's like the most easiest downside to get over. Just use it at the start. The only way someone can deny is if they have 30 HP center left, but at that point it's kind of like it's a free kill for you, so it's not really a downside. You don't really have to use it. They can also restrict Upao. I think a lot of people have fought against Upao and know how annoying this card can be at times. Essentially guaranteeing 30 damage, which is similar to first Kanata, and it can give you even more if, let's say, your Kanata doesn't die with Upao, which is yeah, it's too good. I wouldn't say, okay, it's not too good, but it adds up a lot of damage, and it allows Kanata to hit damage thresholds way easier. And then those are the possible restrictions. I guess if they want to keep the Kanata deck alive, because we've seen that Sorora Oshi Kanata still does well. It doesn't need Kanata Oshi. They could get rid of the Kanata Oshi. The deck wouldn't die. But what I think is the best way to nerf the deck while keeping it alive is restricting second. The second's synergy with Oshi is way too strong. Giving yourself... It basically gives Kanata, who's meant to be an aggro deck, which is supposed to run out of steam near the end, a sure guaranteed way to end the game. and that's the second Kanata with your Oshi skill. Yeah, it also allows you to get out of... It's the only deck that allows you to get out of a 2-life center opponent where they don't collab and you can't kill and you're down to your last life. It allows you to get past that. Nobody can do that other than Kanata. And it does allow for some forced tech for people who still want to play Kanata. For example, there are still ways to find Kanata. Example, Amazing PC. You can sack one cheer, which is quite devastating for Kanata, but it has to be a cost to find such a good card. There's also Retro PC, which almost every deck is now using, especially when they only have 4 seconds. Retro PC is very strong as a tech card, guarantees you your second to finish off games, and for Kanata specifically, if it's restricted to less copies, you can still find it even if it gets stuck into your holo power where you use it, and then you can use Retro PC. So yeah, I personally want Kanata second to be restricted, maybe to 2, maybe to 1. We'll see how it goes, but I do want this second to be adjusted somewhat personally. I think they will probably just touch first Kanata or the Oshi. I don't think they'll touch the rest. The Kanata definitely doesn't need adjustments if they just nerf Upao. I think that's all for Kanata. Now we can move on to the second most problematic deck, I guess, is Rene. Rene has been very popular, extremely popular, still is, for one good reason. It hits way too hard and has easy get out of jail card, which is HoloOCG. So that's exactly what we are gonna hit here, or what I think they will definitely hit here. The interesting thing is, we've never seen a choice restrict before, so they might not even choice restrict the card, but the obvious restriction that everyone will be asking for is a choice restriction between HoloOCG and Rene cards. Specifically, I guess they could restrict it. If they want to keep Rene alive as ID2, they could just restrict that you cannot play second Rene and HoloOCG in the same deck. That way you can still play Rene. Yeah, like ID2, I guess. Like you can still slot in collab debut Rene. So it wouldn't kill the deck. It'll just choice restrict Rene Elfie specifically. Then they have to run a new Oshi. The problem with this is that Rene currently is going through a stage where there are people already not running HoloOCG and trying other alternatives. As we've seen, ASCII Oshi for Rene Zeta did very well and is not affected if they ever choice restrict HoloOCG. And currently, as of now, Japan is trying a new Rene build using Kobo and Marine in Rene, because it's a 6-life deck with easy cheer management and uses Marine to retrieve your Renes from archive. So that is also another deck that's not affected by a choice restrict on Oli. So what else can they do that will be a good nerf and actually affect the deck a bit? I guess the obvious one is Tatang. Tatang is strong, to say the least. It gives Rene 30 HP and gives her 10 damage. Why that 30 HP matters? Because it gives second Rene 220 HP, which is a very, very hard threshold to hit. Especially even in the mirror, Rene only does, with 5 colors, she only does 210 with her own Tatang. And so you need a lot of damage. You need a lot of extra sources of damage to even take down a second Rene. I think removing Tatang weakens her early game, especially when this Rene finds it. She will no longer be 160 health that hits for 70. This vanilla will no longer be 190, which is basically a second. I think Tatang would be a good nerf. I don't know if it's enough, because the other two decks kind of bypass the usage of Tatang. With Rene Zeta, you have Zeta to roll and negate any damage, so it doesn't matter whether it's 190 or 220 HP Rene. And then we have Kobo Marine, which Marine just recycles the second Rene anyways, so even if it dies, it's not that big for the deck. Yeah, I don't know how they will handle Rene well. The only way they could really nerf it is restrict the second as well, but I don't think the developers are gonna restrict seconds, so early until it's like they have no other choice and just kill the deck. One interesting way they could do it is they restrict your cheers, amount of colors of cheers you can run in the deck. Maybe they could put it to a maximum of 4 cheers, maximum of 4 colors per deck. And in a way, it still works with Rainy's identity, but it now hard caps her damage at 190, which is, I would say, more fair. It does. I don't think they'll do it, but it is an interesting way that I suggest they could nerf the Rainy deck. Yeah, so I think that is all they restrict. Honestly, there's nothing else they need to restrict. Other possible chances, maybe, just maybe, they'll restrict some of the red decks like Marine, maybe Polka. I don't see a reason to nerf these 2 decks. They currently they are both strong and are held back by Kanata, so if Kanata does get restricted, these 2 will definitely rise. But I think they're both very fair decks that still have very clear weaknesses. Especially with Suisei. Suisei still keeps both of them in check. Yeah, so I think they'll only hit Kanata and Rainy. Let me know what you guys think. What else should be hit on the restriction list? Hopefully there's a restriction list, or else this whole video will have no point and I'll be suffering for another 3 months until set 4 releases. Yeah, hopefully if there isn't a restriction list, hopefully at least set 3 will make things interesting. If not, we're just gonna have another Kanata Reine meta and it will be very painful to go through. What do you guys think of the current meta? Or do you think it will improve once Reine and and Kanata are gone? I think it'll definitely be more interesting, where every deck kind of just stops one-shotting each other unless they have color advantage. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.